All right. Peace, peace, peace. I'm Achi at Karar, and this is Movie Understandings. You know what I'm talking about? And today, as I said last strong, we are talking about the movie The Last Supper. And this movie is good because it's doing well. It preludes the Three Kingdoms period, romance of the Three Kingdoms and whatnot, but it's the same dynasty, right? And you gotta understand, China had more than one Warring States period, right? But to understand this movie, you have to sort of know what happened before the events in the movie. Now, you know, we know that this particular part in the movie is talking about uh, the Qin Dynasty, right? So the Qin Dynasty, the Qin Dynasty didn't last long. I don't want to give a lot of dates, but don't worry about the dates. You know, lead those to the stories. But the Qin Dynasty was 221 to 207 BC, or before the Common Era, right? Also, uh just as we go through this movie, who's also alive and thriving during this time, making his way across the Alps, showing them boys how they do up in that north, but with a lot of money. We stacking up our paper to get a bunch of money. And we going to Spain, and we going across them Alps to face them Romans. That's right. Also doing alive during this time is Hannibal Bark. I want to say, put some respect on his name. But yeah, Hannibal Bark is also alive during this time. You know what I'm talking about? But that's what's going on in, you could say, the western part, in a sense. Sometimes you have to know what your people were doing while certain events were going on someplace else. So that was what was going on. And went on. But peace, peace, peace. Um Emanaya and peace. I know radio, you know what I'm talking about. And peace Safta Ahava. Um but yeah, right. So that's how long the Qin dynasty started. And basically the great emperor of the Qin dynasty is Qin Shi Huang. Now that's his emperor name, right? But you break it down, and it says Qin Shi Huang. Qin, the state, or the kingdom. Shi is one, and Huang. Huang is emperor, but it's usually Huang Di, but it's Huang shortened down to Huang. So he's Qin's first emperor. You know what I'm talking about? But he unified China. Well, the what would be considered China, because remember, China gets its name from actually Qin Dynasty, right? So he unites China during this Warring States period, and he's the first ever emperor to unify China at that time. And Chen Shi Huang, he does a lot. He does a lot, you know, um, in his short period of time, but he's one of those great tyrannical type building emperors, right? He during this time, Great Wall of China is built. You know what I'm saying? And it's his mausoleum that has the terracotta army. With all the terracotta soldiers in it and whatnot. And after he dies, because I can't give you a lot, but after he dies, then this is pretty much where the movie, The Last Supper, is showing. Chen Shi Huang dies, and then it's pretty much a free for all, right? So we know that the one of the main characters is Liu Bong, right? And Lil Bong, he's a commoner. Lil Bong from Pay County, you hear it, throughout the movie. Lil Bong from Pay County, Pay County, you know. And he was a sheriff at one time, but during the movie you have to get a little bit in context, and that's what I'm gonna do a little bit, putting a little things into context. Like he was a commoner, who married a a woman of affluence, which, see, Lil Bon, he kind of shrewd and shisty, you know what I'm saying, in the sense that he can schmooze his way out of things and things like that. You know what I'm talking about? And so one way how he gets his wife, Empress Lou, you know what I'm saying, he goes to her father's banquet and says he'll donate 1,000 coins, and then her father, who paid attention to physiognomy, saw Leo Bang and was like, "I'm gonna marry my daughter to him," things like that. But he didn't have the money, no way. He was lying, you know. But yeah, but also, he looked, like in the movie, he looks like a ruffian and whatnot, things like that. One thing is that Lil Bomb, while being a sheriff, he was tasked with transporting prisoners to work on basically Emperor Cheshire Wang's mausoleum. Now, he had to be on time and he couldn't lose none of his prisoners, because either one of those things and he would be executed or in trouble, right? Coming with great ambition. I don't know about that. It's debatable. You can debate that he had great ambition, but he went about, it's one of those toss ups in the sense, yeah, he had great ambition, but was it really his? I mean, if you paid attention, if you pay attention to everything, right? But yeah, also, as we know with the Han Dynasty, Han is actually the majority ethnic group in China, which gets its descendancy from Liabong and the Han Dynasty, right? So yeah. So okay, peace with it, brother Raheem. So yeah. Now, like in the movie, you know what I'm saying, he's meeting, Shang Yu for the first time. Now, like I told you, once, he's, you know, transporting these prisoners to the mausoleum, right? And one of them escapes. So he just says F it and release everybody. And some stay. And so he basically becomes a rebel of the state, you know. But also Shang Yu, who comes from a noble family. Like he tells you, Shang Yu he was young. He was jealous of him. Young, came from a noble family, and had the most beautiful wife, right? Now, Shang Yu, like I said, came from a noble family, and more importantly, his grandfather actually fought against the Qin, even though he lost, he fought against the Qin, and people remember that, saying, "Oh, you come from that family," and Shang Yu, great warrior. Some would say, Shang Yu was a far better warrior than Lu Bu from Three Kingdoms period, right? But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And so this movie sort of flips back from past to future, um, with Lil Bong. So you see that, Empress Lu, No, who's an old woman who's very significant, tells the emperor that, it's done, you know. And then you find out that, basically they bring in the head of Han Shin, who's a general. No, more importantly, Han Shin is the general that Chief talked about in his Oda Archive show about the Art of War. That Han Shin, you know, and he talked, she talks about, the battle that Han Shin was in, which is called the Battle of Jingling, right? That's the battle that he's talking about. You know what I'm talking about? And he's talking about this Han Shin, So Han Shin's, in the future is dead. But we're like say you go back and forth. And so, you realize that they all met for the first time in the same place, for one. But you see Lil Bang asking, Shang Yu for troops. Now, why is he asking them for troops? Now, historically, Lil Bang, once, the Chin's losing power and whatnot. Lil Bang is made a governor of the city, and he loses the city. He loses the city through treachery, right? And so he goes basically to Shang Yu for troops. But really, you got to understand is that Shang Yu is not, he's a general and a leading general. But even then, at that time, because of where he's from, Shang Yu's from Chu. So he's under the king of Chu, who will later become the emperor of Chu, right? Well, actually, what Shang Yu would do is he'll kill the king of the former king of Chu, and then put a puppet on the throne, and then that person would be the emperor of Chu, And so he goes to him for troops, and then he talks about his wife says that he's the dragon's son. Now, to put more context in it, what basically his wife doing is not, she came up with that story. His mother came up with that story. Basically she's just retelling what his mother said, that before he was born, she met with a dragon, that lay beside her while she was pregnant and whatnot. But that's why they call him the dragon's son, in a sense, because of that dream that she had. You know what I'm talking about? So that brings them into more context, because if you don't know, you don't know. So that's what I'm here for, right? And so he asks Zhang Yu for troops to basically retake, his city. And you see, one person is telling Shang Yu, don't trust that dude. We got to kill him. That's Fan Xing. And Fan Xing is basically Zhang Yu's strategist. And he's a great strategist, right? And helps out Shang Yu. But he's very instrumental in really trying to lay low Lil Bang. He's like, hey, I don't trust that dude. Kill him, and whatnot. But be that as it may, Zhang Yu gives him the troops, right? And he retakes, the city, which his wife was captive in. You see, and that's Empress Lu. Like I said, it doesn't show because but one thing you have to understand, to understand the way that she is, probably is to understand what all she been through. Like, this woman came from a rich family, you know what I'm saying? But she married a guy, beneath her station. We just gonna say it like that. And then, she goes through all these hardships. Like I said, she got kidnapped in the city, and taken hostage. And then, I don't know if it happened historically, but in the movie you see she got scalped. She got scalped. You know what I'm talking about? And she has two children with Lil Bong, a boy and a girl. And in the movie, you see her confront him on, having an illegitimate child. Now, I've seen it in other TV shows about that issue. It's basically the child of the widow that he was already he was with before he got married, but I don't know if that's actual historical evidence. You know what I'm saying? Because he had many concubines historically. You know what I'm talking about? What did the scalping represent? Chief. I'm so used to the native part, over in the western part. I never researched what scalping meant for the Chinese in sacrifice. Um that I never researched, but with I'm so used to it being on the other plane, But I would also say, of course it's a manner of disrespect, you know what I'm saying? But I wanna say, you know, cause this is always reoccurring. They scalp their head just to show that basically she got no covering. Because it's because if you think about it, like that's to me that's what the message is, because they scalped her head because she has no covering, no real covering, solid covering over her head, because Lil Bang is shiesty. He's shiesty like that, man. But she confronts him about the child, but she says, as long as it's yours, I'll take care of it. You know what I'm talking about? But that's not the only issue she's going to have with him. Like I said, you're going to see a bunch of things. But you see Hanshin being imprisoned and freed, right? Now, this could, when he's in prison, historically, this could be the point where what happened was, because see, Hanshin, not only was he a great general, he was also a king. He was a king, and what happened was that he basically harbored a fugitive, in a sense. A friend of his who used to be in Shang Yu's army, he was harboring him in his house, and then at this time, Lil Bang is the emperor. They found out, and they demoted him from king to marquis, and imprisoned him in that sense. You know what I'm saying? But you see that part, right? Okay. But that gives more context on what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Now, Lil Bang, you see him go to the Qin capital of Shenyang. Now, remember, Shenyang and Chang'an, two historically imperial capitals that play throughout Chinese history, Shenyang and Chang'an. You know what I'm talking about? But we're dealing with Chang'an, right? Oh, yep. Yeah, it did burn more than once. Okay. So he goes to Shenyang capital, right? And the thing is that they don't tell you, what's really going on is, while he's at the capital, right? Shang Yu is fighting, the other warlords in the north or northeast, basically, right? And while he's doing that, because he's about to win a great battle up there. It should be the battle of Julu. Should be Julu. And while he's doing that and getting achievements, it's like Lil Bang is being, basically shiesty and just waltzing up to the to the to Shenyang, to the capital, right? But the thing is that you hear Lil Baby says, Shang Yu promised, whoever could take the capital first, it would be theirs. That's not true. What happened was that the true emperor said that whoever could take the capital would take that region, right? Whoever could take that capital first could take that region. So that's what really happened. You know what I'm talking about. And while, that's happening, Sean Yu feels like, well, I got more military achievements than this dude. So how come he gets to have that reason? I'm the one really fighting, you know what I'm talking about? I'm the one putting in work. He was able to walk in because I'm dealing with everybody, in the north, But as you can see, they get to the capital. One thing you have to, like I say, and it's immaculate. Shenyang is immaculate, but it's, basically built by, Emperor, Chen Shirwang, and says, it's under him. And one thing you see is the amazing record keeping. That's one thing that the Qin Dynasty did. But I just know from accounting, you know what I'm saying. But one thing that Bill Bang, does when he gets there, he doesn't kill anybody. You know what I'm talking about. He doesn't kill the Qin Emperor. He doesn't raid the treasury, the imperial treasury, or does he allow his troops to? You know what I'm talking about. Peace, soft the good, soft the good drink. So you know what I'm talking about. But the Qin Dynasty had a lot of things like their irrigation system, especially for that region where Shenyang is in, was wonderful. Their water irrigation system. You know what I'm talking about, and like I say, it's a lot. But that's what they're walking into. So when you see like they are marveling at this place, one, it's to be marveled at. Shoot, it's to be marveled at that the simple fact that the Qin Dynasty had a great army. It had a great army, man. I mean, like I say, man, you gotta understand, like this during the time where Rome is about to be, that power. But like I say, this is during the time of Hannibal, right? But Rome about to be that power, right? But in the East, you have the Qin Dynasty, and I mean they got swords and different types of swords and different type of lances and whatnot, and they already got crossbows. they literally already have crossbows. This is doing, basically, doing the same period as the Roman Empire, and over in the East, we already got crossbows. We already shoot people with crossbows and whatnot. And I believe that it's the time doing the crossbow where you have to use your feet, to cock it back into the fire, but or it could be the big one where you also, but sort of crude. It's not like the crossbow that Zhang Liang will make where it's like a semi-automatic pistol where you boom, you get one off, or the arbalist. But things like that. But they had phenomenal weaponry. Now you don't hear nothing about this in the West. I wonder why. But yeah, phenomenal weaponry. Also, this is during the time of thinking schools. You know what I'm talking about? You got Confucianism, like the Qin Dynasty, they adopted legalism. And basically legalism is let me see. Basically, dependence of moral law, rather than personal, religious faith, and basically having, a rich state and a powerful army. You know what I'm saying? Basically, it's a lot, but saying, that human beings are, sort of selfish, and the only way you can basically use that is to, incorporate those things for the state. You know what I'm saying? In a sense. Um, in those days, getting an ear finger or lamb chop off was used as punishment. Sometimes a face tattoo was given. It was considered a connection to filial tradition. Um, to cut it is to repent. Yeah, I've heard of that, Chief. I also know that the cutting of the hair sometimes is to sever a family tie or but yeah, sever a family tie. You know, show the cutting of familial ties. But yeah, yeah, I've heard that too. You know, I just didn't connect that connect that with it. You know, of course the face tattoos, yeah. You know, the branding of face tattoos and things like that. But for me, it was like it's the top of the head. If they wanted to just cut all the hair off, they to show that they could have done that, but no, they did the top. I thought, like I said, I thought it was foreshadowed because it was like, you know what, man, you got. We gonna show you. you know. Yes, hair was given by the father and skin by the mother as considered in those times. Yeah, yeah. I read you. I read you. So um you have that. You know, they go to the city. You know, he talks with the Chin Emperor and says, you know, there was a dream of unification. You know, historically, you don't know if that's because one thing, Chin's, you know, after like I said, after Chen Shirwang dies, they're already going through, you know, at least two emperors um, during this time as well. So there are it's already political unrest in their own state. But you see that, and you also see Liu say, you know, um, seal Hanggu Pass, right? That's sort of important in a sense because, as you know, Zhang Yu is coming down because he didn't win where he's coming down with his army. Now he just won this. Now this is the thing, he won this great battle, man, and he captured 200. Well, approximately 200,000. 1 second. 200,000 Chin soldiers, right? But he could have incorporated because he was coming down with 400,000 troops of his own anyway. But he could have had 600, but he killed all of them. He killed those 200,000 Chin troops because he was like, man, y'all disloyal, y'all surrendered. Off of y'all, you know, y'all die. It was sort of it was a little bit Japanese, you know, samurai-esque in the sense, you know, you have no loyalty to your, you know, to your shogun. Die, and that's what he did. He killed 200,000 of them, you know, and but as he's coming down, you know, you see Lil Bon says seal the pass. So when he comes down to that pass, he's going, you know, Lil Bon's going to open that pass, right? But then he's going to say, you know, when he sees, you know, Zhang Yu say, who sealed this pass? Who stopped my brother from coming? You know, because that's one thing about Lil Bong and Zhang Yu. They were sworn brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like basically Lil Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei. You know, they took oath to be sworn brothers, and that's what they did. And he's like, "Who did that to my brother? I didn't tell you to do that." You know what I'm saying? Playing it off when he got there. You know what I'm talking about. But you know, Zhang Yu, you know, Zhang Yu, he already sees that, you know, Lil Man is just shiesty like that. Like I say, he's shiesty, you know, because this happens. But you have he's scared, you know, as Zhang Yu is in the movie, he's scared. So he goes to Zhang Yu's uncle, Zhang Bo. He goes to Zhang Bo and says like, save me. Now, mind you, Jean Bo is not friends with Lil Bum. He only goes because it was at the request of his friend Jean Leon. And Jean Leon, because you're going to see him in the future. In the future as well. See, Jean Leon is a great strategist. You don't see it in the movie, but Jean Leon is a great strategy. More importantly, what you don't know in the movie, Jean Leon actually tried to put it. He literally put a hit out on Emperor T-shirt Wong, right? But it failed. But he put a hit out on him. You know what I'm talking about? But he's a great strategist. You know what I'm saying? He's a great strategist. And you know what I'm talking about? He's friends with Lil Bum, but sometimes throughout this period of time, which will be known as the Chu Han contention, because you have to stay the Chu and the state of Han. He goes back to his own state, which is Han, but it's spelled H-A-A-N, not Han, H-A-N, which is sort of neighboring in a sense, but it's not the same. But he sort of goes back to help his own people at different points in time. But he always goes back to Lil Bong in a sense, right? Oh, Peace Master Minilet. So, you have that. And they bribe Zhang Bo, and he goes back to Zhang Yu and calms him down. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta fast forward and see Lil Baby being sick and whatnot and coughing up blood. But then you see what's about to lead up, and that's the Hong Men banquet or the Feast of Hong Men, and that's basically really what the title Last Supper is. That supper, that banquet, what I'm talking about. And what happens is that, Zhang Yu comes down and they have this banquet. It's not that far from Hangul Pass. And what happened is, it's disputed, but what happened is that Fong Zing, his strategist, he's the one that sets up the hit at the banquet, and it's unbeknownst to Zhang Yu. You know what I'm saying? But he's the one that actually sets up the hit, depending on the sources. And what happens is, the guy that's doing the sword dance, that is Zhang Yu's nephew. Should be his nephew or his cousin, but I believe it's his nephew. And he's the one that's trying to kill him, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? But then you see Jean Bo, he steps up and he's like, oh no, you ain't about to do that. You know what I'm saying? But it's cool, right? Like I say, it's cool, because there's basically not a lot of talking, but you see, oh, we trying to kill this dude. You know what I'm saying? But you see that the attempt fails in a sense, and Zhang Yu, says, "Oh, so you didn't go into the city?" He said, "No, I didn't go into the city, bro. I didn't go to." It's like, okay, and so so Lil Bon, he's like, "Man, I played like I was drunk. I had to go to the bathroom, whatever, but I ran and got that F on out of there." Everybody was ready, what I'm talking about. And you're going to see this banquet more than one time and what really went on. But yeah, what I'm talking about. Zhang Yu lets him go. And his strategist is like, what is you doing? You got, you going to be his servants if y'all don't kill him. But Zhang Yu lets him go. You know what I'm talking about? And one thing you see is, the Qin Emperor being executed. He's cut in half. That I was about, when you see it, you be like, oh, they about to do the William Wallace. They about to William Wallace him. No, they about to just slice him in half, which they do. You know what I'm talking about? And that's the end of the Qin dynasty, you know. Um and so you have Shang Yu say, hey, we have our own, customs and way and cultures. We're gonna go back to that, you know what I'm saying? And he basically divides um the region up into 18 kingdoms, formerly of what they used to be, right? Um Long ago before they were seven, right? And that's what happens. But he's the was basically the overlord of all 18 kingdoms, you know. That's his title, to be overlord or hegemon king, you know what I'm talking about. And so, but when he does that, then everybody goes back to fighting. Now you see that Liu Bang, he gets Han County, or basically the state of Han, you know, which, one second. Okay, they keep on coming back, and then you got to shoot them like, die, die. you know. But, bada bing, you got to give them over your nice Ivy League suit, you know. But he gets Han, but he's in a region because it's in the western region, right? So basically, if he's basically in the sort of like the barbarian region, because that's what he's bordering. what would be called the barbarian regions, in a sense. But he's also kept in check because three three generals or three governors that were lords of Shang Yu is basically they could check his power, right? And so, you know, you see that, and then you see Han Shin the deserts Shang Yu. You see him in basically like the library. Now, what's important about that library is that historically, like I told you, Lil Bang didn't take no treasury, nothing from the treasury, no jewels, no nothing. He didn't raid it. But what Zhang Liang did was he took all the records and maps. Because one thing, this is another thing about the Qin Dynasty or Qin Shi Huang. They had great maps only because of the simple fact that Emperor Qin Shi Huang, he would go on these great national inspection tours. So they were constantly on the road, what I'm talking about, to inspect the lands, what I'm talking about. So they had good maps. And that's one thing that they took, and they took that back to basically the province of Wuhan, right? And it doesn't you see Hanshin desert, what I'm saying? And he goes to Liu Bang. What happens is that, Zhang Liang and Minister Zhao, they say, yo, you need Han Shin on your side. So why don't we employ him? He left, Zhang Yu because he wasn't being, treated fairly or recognized. And so when he joins Liu Bang, he's basically commander in chief of the army. We're just gonna say it like that. He's commander in chief of the army. And so, oh man, like I say, Zhang Liang goes on a warpath, man, and he's just conquering and conquering. He beats, the three Qin generals up, up above them. He goes eastward. He has a little bit because he's in the state of Sao and Qi, well, basically Shandong. And that's where he has his great battle of Jingyin, and decimates everybody with 30,000 troops. Bomb, said bomb, son. And he's doing that. He's just, like I say, man. Man, when Liu Bang got Han Shin, he caught a lick. Because Lil Bang is able to recruit troops, but he's not a good general. And one way you know that is because during the Han troop contention, Lil Bang actually makes it to the true capital and takes it. When Zhang Yu is away, but when Zhang Yu comes back, Zhang Yu retakes that and decimates his army. Decimates his army. You know what I'm saying? But you also see how Shang Yu is a great warrior. He's not a good ruler. He's not a good ruler, but he is a great warrior general in a sense. Maybe not a good tactician, but he's a good warrior general. Because it doesn't show, but Shang Yu is very good, or he's good. He's good to he's good to his troops, and he's good to people under him. You know what I'm saying? If you with Zhang Yu, you ain't starving. If you down with him, which is very interesting with why Han Shin leaves. But yeah, you know. And so one thing you see is in the movie, you see, Zhang Liang, he portrays Han Shin. You know what I'm saying? He bangs, and even in Han Shin calls about it in the movie. He's like, man, you make these pills and whatever. Say you making an immortality pill, just to seem weak and crazy. You know what I'm saying? What happened to this, and that? You know what I'm talking about? Y'all doing all of that. You know what I'm saying? But you also see basically Minister Zhao, or he questions what happens at the banquet records, because it says this one person did everything. He was like, no, the person that was really instrumental was Han Shin. Now, at that banquet, it's that's historically you sort of don't know, but here, that record, he was like, man, we're gonna have to change that. Change that. But nobody changes it. And why? Because of Empress Lu. Like, okay. You want to, like, I always got to make this, analogy. If you want to see some real political intrigue, like Game of Thrones political intrigue, look at the east side. Look at the east side, because I'll tell you one thing, Empress Lu, the closest thing you is is worse than Cersei Lannister. Let's just put it like that. She's like Cersei Lannister, but worse. Forget the incest, whatnot. That chick, we gonna get into it. We gonna get into it, trust me. And so, what I'm talking about, at the behest of Empress Lu, and you see that, when she comes to the, basically the record keep, the library, you have Minister Zhao. He's pleading for Han Shin's life, but it's already been decided by Empress Lu. That Jean Beau's gonna die. They're gonna kill him, and they're gonna kill Han Shin. You know what I'm saying? But he's able to, save himself, in a sense. And so, basically, Han Shin is invited to, a so-called banquet by his friends, in a sense, by Zhang Liang and Minister Zhao. And they they kill him, they strangle him, and then they hang him up. But the scene is, it's like, man, they killed him, man. He did all of that. He basically gives them the Han, the Han Empire. He solidifies everything, with his exploits, and they killed him. Now, it is true that, in a sense, he was a king. He didn't always show up to court. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, he did try. You could say that he was undermining, Emperor Lianbang or Emperor Gatsu. That's another name that he has. Just like Emperor Chi Wang, right? But still, man, I was like, man, Hashin's so cool. It was like when they killed him, and then they hang him, over the bell tower that was just made. It was like, man, that's messed up. And then his friend is like, because you see that it plays like he's reliving his life in a sense, and he sees Hanshin sees that it was Lil Bond that gave him something to eat, because at one point in time in his life Hanshin was poor. He was an orphan. He was poor. What I'm talking about. But he was a great soldier. You know what I'm saying? Like the person that gave him food, he gave her a bunch of gold. And the person that bullied him, he made, as a kid, he made him basically a captain in his army. You know what I'm talking about? So he was a cool guy, I guess you could say, but he ended up becoming a king, like they say, because of your status, we can't, maim your body. But also historically, it was said that Lil Bong promised him that he wouldn't kill him with like a knife or a sword or a spear or anything. So that's why he's killed like that. But also because he's a noble. You know what I'm saying? He was a king. He's a marquis. You know what I'm saying? He's a high noble. You know what I'm talking about? And so, they can't have no, basically noble blood on their hands. So of course they're gonna strangle him like that. But also historically, Hanshin and his family was killed. Historically, and it wasn't just him, it was Hanshin and Pang Yu. They both were killed. And Empress Lu did it while you in the movie you see that he's the emperor's actually there, but he left. The emperor left to fight a rebellion, and that's when she killed him. She killed him, man. But yeah, that's how brutal she was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Uncle Bo died in that Emma Bose. Like he was, he old man, but he knew it was over. He knew it was over. Yeah, he was like, "You too sharp for your own good, man." What's the significance of being cut in half? Whatever happened to a good old beheading? Well, it sometimes depends. Sometimes it's the torture aspect or disrespect of the person. Shows how low you fall. Like also at this time, um another execution thing. They were, you want to say, drawn quarter. Basically, they'll take two, uh tie you up to two carriages, and then both horses, go opposite ways, and then they tear you apart. It's the same difference. You know what I'm saying? Um One is to show, when it came to like the Qin emperors, basically showed death to a despotic ruler, you could say. You know what I'm talking about? Or to because look how they disrespect them. I mean, they cut them in half and then put them in a basket. You know what I'm talking about? They didn't want him to have a quick death. You cut somebody's head off, they having a quick death. You cut somebody from the middle, you know, you may feel that. You know what I'm talking about? In a sense. But also you're not allowing basically the body to be salvaged in a sense as well, Um like well, Chisha would kill his enemies, and but yeah, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes death by beheading, that's too lenient for some, you know. Another reason, because it's also to show that he's a high criminal against the state. You know what I'm saying? You don't kill nobody, just cut off their head. Um, that's you getting off. No, we gonna cut you in half. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You ain't getting no state funeral, bro. No. And Emperor Chin doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, you see him. You know what I'm talking about. So that was one thing, right? But they killed him, man. They killed Achi, man. But yeah, you know, and then you see, Master Jean. He cuts off Han Xing's head to save himself. You know what I'm talking about? He cuts off his head. You know what I'm talking about? But then you see, once Lil Bang is presented the head in a sense, that's when he dies. And basically 195, he lives basically 2 years longer than, in a sense, than Hannibal, because Hannibal dies in 197 BC. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? But you see that, he dies, but what do you say? He says, he didn't know his wife was gonna kill off, my concubine sons. Now we gonna get now that we at the basically that or that his the that his basically descendants will be the majority ethnic group in China, right? Which they are, you know what I'm saying. But let's get into Empress Lu. Because this is like you see, she's the one that orchestrated the killing and solidifying the power of Le Bon, right? Would you say that Qin's unification efforts were successful before? Well, before the eventual defragmentation of China. Yes, I would say it was successful in what it did. In the group, it was not Qin Shi Huang was a tyrannical ruler in a sense, but he built so much. You get the Great Wall of China. You get, you get all of this. You get some good stuff. Irrigation systems. You get a basically a a military machine, probably better than if they fought, who will win, Rome or the Qin dynasty. We know Rome is good, and they have good military. But this is during Hannibal, and they lose. But till Zaba and whatnot. But think about this is young Rome. They gonna get washed. They gonna get washed just by sheer technology, probably sheer weapon technology alone. You know what I'm saying? Just by sheer weapon technology alone. Also, it's successful because it's the first time it ever happened. This is the first time it was ever unified. It happened in the Qin Dynasty. So of course, before the eventual another Warring States period, it maybe adopting legalism form was not the best idea, or maybe it was. Maybe it worked for him. Maybe that was the point. Emperor Qi Shi Huang was like, I like that. That's what I'm about, and we gonna put this in the power. But but yeah, I would say, of course, it was successful. Empress Lu was best with shots. Empress Lu was man. That chick. Okay, we gonna get into Empress Lu. She backs from shotters, bruh. But in a sense, you're right. That's me. In a sense, you're right. Now let me tell you. Okay, now it's not true that Empress Lu killed all his sons or his concubine sons. No. Now in the movie, you see one woman, and that's concubine Chi, or concubine Chi, right? And concubine Chi, that's that chick's enemy. Now you see her in the movie all the time, but that's that chick's enemy. That's Empress Lu's enemy. Like, okay, when Shang Yu kidnaps um Empress Lu, well, she wasn't Empress at that time, but Empress Lu, right? Historically, Shang Yu kidnaps his father, and some say it was his father and Empress Lu. And what Shang Yu does is he says, Liu Bang, surrender, or we gonna kill your father and turn him into soup. Now depending on the source, it was, like I said, it was his father and his wife, because he had them both. He had his whole family. He kidnapped his family. And what Leo Bong does is says he like I say, he's shiesty. He says, Shang Yu, if you kill my father, that means you're killing your father, because we're brothers, because they swore brothers. But if you do kill him, send me some of that soup too. Now, if it's if he said that for his father, and like I say, so it's both his father and his wife. She just found out what that dude really think about her. Like I said, you got to go with the progression, right? So then you come back, because when Shang Yu hears this and sees that, because he sees them as despicable, he tries to fight them head up, you know what I'm talking about, and that doesn't happen, you know what I'm saying, and this before Shang Yu dies, and you also see how greedy Liu Bang is, because you see he eyeing Shang Yu's wife. Now at the Battle of Guisha, or Gaisha, where Liu Bang, Shang Yu dies. His wife dies before him, but she dies with him. You know what I'm talking about? But what you don't see, while he has very few troops around, but those were the loyal ones that were so moved, and it was like, man, so moved by him, they stuck with him. Now, Lil Bang, he says anybody, in his army that could, get the head off of Shang Yu, you know what I'm saying, they get a bunch of gold, and they get a title. But this was the cool thing about Shang Yu, in the sense, depending on the story, he sees, a friend in his army. And what he does is he basically goes to his friend and says, I hear, there's a bounty on my head. I'm gonna give it to you, bro. And basically he kills himself. But the thing is that, once he dies, a bunch of, troops, basically decimate his body, and they all try to send pieces to get pieces of body to claim the bounty. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Ming Le gonna turn him into soup. And he says, hey, if you're gonna do that, give me some too. But that horrifies Shang Yu, because he's like, man, you are so morally bankrupt. What happened to Phil? Because they big on filial piety. You gonna let your, think about it, you gonna let your father and your wife get killed? And you saying you gonna eat the soup? Oh, you are low. You are worse than you are so morally low. But yeah, what I'm saying, Empress, like I say, and historically, it's said that Shang, Lil Bang didn't really care about his first two kids. The stories about that. He didn't care about them. You know what I'm talking about? And like I say, she has to go through so much with him, going through all the stuff, but consort Chi, concubine Chi, don't have to go through that. You know what I'm saying? She's younger, prettier, or whatever, and in some stories, she's also the contender for Empress, but his courtiers talk him out of it, saying, under Confucian law, you can't do that. Your legal wife have to be empress, but he was going to try to make her empress. It depends. But what concubine Chi does too is she, by her being his favorite concubine, her son that she gives him, which his name is Liu Ruyi, that's also his favorite son, and he wants to put him as the crown prince and not Empress Lu's son. And the talk him out of it. Four wise men were sent to him to talk him out of it, which he relents and doesn't make him crown prince. But once he is dead, because that chick goes wild, and she kills some sons. Those that were her enemies, she killed. Yeah, she killed them. She didn't kill all of them. She, like, for instance, because this is gonna be key. She didn't kill concubine Bo and her son. They were able to live. But consort Chi, got that reply that, like, this is why I can never take. Yeah, exactly, right? So, but consort Chi, okay. So, Lil Bone's dead. What she does is, because you want to talk about, shaving the head, the representation of shaving the head. Consort, first, she arrests Consort Chi. Now, her son, Liu Ruyi, he's basically the king of Zhao. But they're apart, while he's in the state of Zhao. But she arrests her. She shaves off her head, shaves off all her hair, and then make her work hard labor, milling rice. Now, first, concubine, she steals Sadiddy and talking. She even got a song about, I think it was the milling rice song that she sings. About her having to mill rice, and that her son is this great king, but she's far apart, and she just wants to be that, to disrespect Empress Lu. Now Empress Lu's son is Empress, that makes her the Empress Dowager, right? And see, gotta have my finger on the trigger. Come on. All right, I'll try this one then. How many times is this gonna happen? Why can't I do it? I can't do it, son. It's not letting me send error. Okay. But that makes her mad. That makes Empress Lu mad, right? So what this chick does, what she does is, one, she reunites Empress Chi and basically Liu Ruyi, or the king of Zhao. They reunite for a minute, right? Okay, give thanks. They reunite for a minute. But this is the thing. This is why I say it's sort of Game of Thrones, because she's Cersei Lannister. Now, the Emperor, Empress Lu's son, he knows that his mother wants to kill his half brother. So he tries to keep him near him so he can't get killed. But one day when he goes out hunting, and his brother's like, man, I'm asleep. I'm asleep. You go ahead and hunt. And he goes out and hunt. And that's that, because she couldn't do it while he's around. But that's the day that she made that boy swallow some poison and ended up dead. She killed him, made him swallow poison and ended up dead, right? You got shooters in the chat already. We all some shooters, Gang, gang. Anyway, so he ends up dead. But like I told you, she shaved off all concubine Ching's hair. Now this is what she's gonna do to her. This chick, she makes concubine Chi drink poison to make her blind. In some stories, in other stories, she gouged out that chick eyes. She cut off her dang on tongue. Now sometimes it said that she made her drink poison to make her dumb. She cut off her ears. She cut off her limbs, her arms and legs, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. That chick cut it all off, right? And then what does this chick do to add more insult to injury? She puts her in a toilet. Now, it could have been a big chamber pot, or it could have been an actual, toilet. But I would say that she put her in a big chamber pot, because she's, because of the body wise. But she could have just put her in a dang on toilet too. Same thing, the reference is the same thing. And what does she calls this masterpiece of hers? She calls it human swine or human pig. Human pig, right? Told you this chick worse than Cersei. but you gonna see it, right? So what does she does now that she has this masterpiece? She tells the emperor, "You want to see my new masterpiece? Look at it. I call it human smile." And you hear, Empress she covered in, feces and limbs cut off, her eyes goes down, teeth, she can't hear, all of that. And that shocks him so much. He doesn't want to be, he doesn't want to be in no political affairs. He ends up, being debaucherous in a sense, depending on the sources, debaucherous and getting ill and dying. Torment. He's basically torment. You see Tommy, after all of that, he's like, and he kills himself. It's the same thing, son. It's the same thing. She put now here's another thing about her. Now the emperor didn't have no kids. Because Empress Lu, for more than one noble, but also she decided the empress for the emperor. But since they didn't have no kids, what she told her to do, which they did, is to adopt like 7 sons and kill all the mothers. And that's what happens. But she also, who did she marry? She married somebody to her niece. And it was so bad for him that he ended up killing himself. But she really follows the political structure of Lil Bong by keeping taxes low for the poor, setting aside giving basically provincial governance to the ministers, having a statewide exams because at one point in time, only nobles could have government positions. But then they started this state exams where poor people can have them. If you took the state exam, you will be able to, basically get a government job. You know what I'm talking about? Now she keeps that, but she's ruthless. She puts her own clan in power, in certain positions, why she's basically the regent for the young emperor who eventually dies and whatnot. Because once she dies, because she also dies basically like Lil Bong at 60. You know what I'm talking about? Or around that age. Once she dies, a new king basically stages a coup you know what I'm saying, decimates, all her clan. They ain't in power no more. Kills the king, and who did it? Who actually does that is dang on, saying, well, Emperor Wen, who's basically the son that, well, one of the sons that she saved. That's the one that takes control after she dies. But she, like I say, Empress Lu, she is devious. She is brutal. She is brutal to her enemies. Like, for real. She's so brutal to her enemies. And like I say, that story with Concubine Chi, and it's true. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't hear that about, them Westerners. You don't hear them doing that stuff. But them East girls, you be like, bruh, like she did what? She cut off her what? she must have really, she hated that chick. She hated that chick. Like I said, you don't hear about that. Like you hear, Elizabeth and Mary Queen of Scots, all Mary Quaker Cherry did was, fight, Elizabeth, but all she got was get her head chopped off. This chick is basically a human porta potty. Bam! And it's art. How do you do that? How do you make a torture victim into art? But she did it. It baffles my mind. But it's so cool because it's like, that's the political intrigue of it, man. Like, when Han Xing and Peng Yu dies, like, a lot of guys that really helped build the Han Dynasty, they ended up dead. But who didn't end up dead? Zhang Liang. Zhang Liang ended up running away and basically becoming an ascetic. You know what I'm saying? But he was able to live. Everybody else ended up dead. He was able to live. You know what I'm saying? Zhang Liang was able to live. You know what I'm talking about? But man, you know what I'm talking about? Like I say, when it comes to political intrigue, and then when it comes to the Han Dynasty, it ushers in the golden age, no doubt. And it does have a political structure and things like that. But also at this time, even when Liu Bang was alive, he even had to pay tribute to who? The Shang Yu. Chang Wu Do. And he had to end up paying tribute to the Shang Yu. You know what I'm saying? And who are the Shang Yu? They're the ancestors of the Huns. You know what I'm talking about? And they had to give resources and noble women, princesses, to the Shang Yu. At tribute. They was paying out tribute, and they'll have some fights, and the Han will win some. They'll win some over the years, but even the Han would end up like sort of in a sense like the Roman Empire, even though it in a sense it probably lasts longer. No. We'll worry about that later. But there'll be a division, Western Han and Eastern Han as well. You know what I'm talking about? But man, like, gee, Empress Lu, bro. Like I say, she worse than Cersei. She was worse than Cersei. Because she kill you. But she ain't the only one. But she's basically seen as the first empress, because she held power. Even as a regent and things like that, she was the power. She was the moving force. You know what I'm talking about? She's like the first one. You're gonna find more than one account of women in empresses in power like that. On the eastern side. Western side is just you know. But on the east side, it seems like they kill more femininely, in a sense, what I'm saying, using beguilement and things like that. Like when you see how she didn't get killed, she ain't doing it. she getting people to do it herself, but she's using beguilement, fear, and terror, to have and basically convincing them to do what she wants them to do. you know Using her, she's not seducing or anything, but in a sense, she's convincing them, if you don't do it, you're gonna be dead just like that. But she's not being masculine. Well, in a sense, you know, she's more tactical and scheming that way. You know what I'm talking about? But like I say, you will see them. Say they come back, man. They come back. Shoot up. Gotta shoot them all the time. It's like being in a foxhole. You know what I'm talking about? God. Okay. It's like contact. Shoot him. Okay. But yeah, she does all of that, but she's not the only one. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, they're getting worse, bro. She's not the only one, but she's significant. But just think about this. This is a time where it just had its first emperor. You know what I'm saying? Then they go back to basically Warring States period, but didn't last long. And then now they're back to being united again. By a different dynasty that lasts longer. But like I said, the Han dynasty is going to have its problems, and it's just not at the end. But you can see that also during this time, you have you can't say heroic individuals like your own, mythical heroic individuals. God, man, I tell you. I ain't no punk. I'll shoot you. I'll keep on shooting. I got a fool. I got clips. Anyway, hey, well, magazines. Don't say clip. But these mythical individuals, that do phenomenal on the battlefield or phenomenal government work. You know what I'm talking about? Phenomenal government work. You know what I'm saying? Like the Qing Dynasty had phenomenal people in government. You know what I'm talking about? That created like the Qing Dynasty came up with the Chinese writing. I didn't talk about that. I mean, yeah, they the first ones to do, to come up with the writing, and things like that. You know what I'm talking about? And it's like I said, man, it is a lot that you can go into. You know what I'm talking about? And but what was interesting me was basically the armor they were using, leather armor with metal and things like that, and they had interesting swords. I usually see them in C dramas, but they had interesting swords. Interesting straight swords and whatnot. It's not the the kung fu swords you see. They or things like that. But in the crossbows, man. I mean, like for real. But this is also during the time. You still have basically what they call the the Namin kingdoms. They're still around. That's what they're bordering. The Namans in the south and the southwest. Them melanated people. Anyway, but yeah, man. I mean, bruh. But like I said, it's so much, but it's so much rich historically. You know what I'm saying? You leave out the Qing, then you go to the Han. You know what I'm talking about? But and it's like going, you can't call the Qing dynasty the first golden age, and then the Han dynasty just like that, the second golden age. And sometimes you have that with Chinese history. Like they have a good structure in a sense, but then they don't use it. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's like, man, y'all got good ships, but they gonna fall apart because y'all ain't gonna do nothing with them. You know, you probably got a good a good agricultural structure, but then y'all gonna mess it up and and embezzle and corruption is it's just a lot, man. It's just a lot. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all gonna have good. Y'all gonna have y'all institute civil civil exams, but then y'all gonna have corruption there too. So you know problems with nobility and whatnot. I never thought about that. Well, with such lands and mans, it's still easy to forget that there were many cultures and writing systems. Exactly. Just think like this is just dealing with China, but think about it. Think about what is the time that it's in. Like I said, you got Rome. You know, the Western is always bigging up Rome, but here you have a place where, like I say, in the East, where they're doing stuff even Rome probably ain't really figured out yet. Irrigation. they they even figured. I don't think they figured out that yet. You know what I'm saying? That. You know what I'm saying? Agricultural advances. Rome has to go to Egypt for their dang on bread. They ain't figured that one out, but they did. You know what I'm talking about? And because of it's such a big place, and you still got the step what they would actually call the Hu people, which you can consider Mongolians and Tatars and things like that, and Zhongyu, they are the Hu people or Hu people. They up in the north, and like I say, they're so powerful. They're getting dang on tribute from the Han, and shoot, they were in they were a thorn in the Qin dynasty side as well. That's why they had to build that dang on wall. Let's build a wall. We don't want the exactly, but then they don't even tell you about basically I'm so used to calling them Namans, but the Naman kingdoms in the south. In the south. The Naman kingdoms in the south and on the west southwest part, what I'm talking about. Those that would end up, you would say were, going more south, to the southeast, Vietnam and Laos and things like that, that they're part of that, what I'm talking about. Like I said, they didn't look like the others. One of these things is not like the other. Okay. They didn't look like the others. They like them high. You know what I'm talking about. But also with thought thinking schools. You just got the Greeks and they dang on Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates. They got legalism. We got Taoism. We got Mosism. We got Confucianism. And they're all these dang on thoughts. All these dang on philosophical schools. They got all of that. Thriving. You know what I'm saying? With each kind of thought. Each kind of thought you can think of. You know what I'm talking about? It's just, like I said, it is a lot. It's a lot, man. It's just, it's too much sometimes. But yeah, and that's what they're doing. Shoot, they want, like the West want to have crossbows to basically to the medieval periods. Like I said, they already had crossbows, and then they refined it in a sense. You know what I'm saying? And whatnot. We already know what they did with gunpowder in a sense. They just didn't capitalize on it like they could have, but they already had it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's a lot to take in. You know what I'm saying? And And look, they had all them thought schools, and hasn't even been Buddhism hasn't even been introduced. You know what I'm saying? Kung Fu hasn't even been introduced yet. You know, Kung Fu ain't even been introduced yet, and they still they man, you know all that hasn't even been introduced yet in a sense. You know what I'm talking about? But it's a very interesting, like they say, it's like its own world because it doesn't basically interact with the West, let alone sort of India. They don't interact with India. Nothing pretty much beyond you could say the desert or the steppes in a sense, you know, which is interesting that they don't get into naval exploration, but they never capitalized on that too, which they could have. You know what I'm saying? But it's very interesting. But yeah, man. But yeah, like I say, that was a lot. But that's the end. Yeah, that's the end. That's the end. You know what I'm talking about. So join us next time. Next strong. Um we will be doing, I know it says, well, man, I was debating it. But yeah, I'm gonna stick to the script. We gonna I was gonna do fluid metal jacket, but since it wasn't on the picture, I'm gonna keep going with the picture, and we gonna go through. We going with 3%. Season one though, because it's like 3 seasons. I ain't gonna have y'all watch, So it's 3%. Or 3%. 3%. Portuguese. Season one, which is on Netflix. So it's 3%. 3%. And we're gonna go into the future, but we taking it to the south. You know what I'm talking about? We taking it to the south, America. Long as it ain't Felice John Smith, hey, I guess so. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, but we gonna take it again to Brazil, man. We gonna take it to Brazil, and we are going to talk about 3%, man. Just 3%. That's all you get. And what goes on in the future of 3%? We ain't dealing with the past. We gonna deal with the future. You know what I'm talking about? And give it like that. You know what I'm talking about? So we gonna do 3%. You know what I'm talking about? 3%. Season one. Season one. So 3% season one. If you want to go farther than that, you can. I mean, you can. But I just wanted to focus on season one. So that should be good enough. You know what I'm talking about? So that's what we're gonna do. So, but give thanks, everybody. So I will see y'all next strong. We won't be having Shaman New. For those that don't know, we won't be having Shaman New, but we still have, DJ Yemina. See, I can't do my DJ. I don't want to so bad. It's like DJ. But she be on the ones and twos for our new radio, you know what I'm talking about? And then we'll have, the midday affirmation, you know what I'm talking about? So yeah, but DJ But yeah, that's what we've been doing next show. So I will see you next show. But give thanks, like I say, when it comes to not just this, but with many different civilizations. Yeah, you have the cultural and the historical. Yeah, sometimes it's more important to give the cultural. You know what I'm talking about? Because there's a lot into it. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot into it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Well, everything is educational. Like, watch 3% is education. So it says, you know what I'm talking about. And it says it's three. It's, yeah, I just want to. I just want looking at it because it was a Brazilian TV show. But it's educational, man. Like you'll see. You know what I'm talking about. So, but if I could show everybody, give thanks, and I will see y'all next strong. So peace.